America 2561, descend and maintain flight level 270.
Previously on FS MaNiA, we're dipping our toe into Microsoft's new flight simulator by trying out the default TBM 930 on a short cross-country flight from Sarasota to Key West, Florida. Currently, we're en route to Key West, cruising at 11,000, nearing the top of our descent into Key West. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. Welcome aboard. And welcome back. Let's take a look at where we are. We are just about to pass Carter. Our next waypoint is Carnew, and it's time to start preparing for the arrival into Key West. And rather than going direct from Carnew, we're going to be flying the GPS 27 approach. So let's set that up in our FMS, our Garmin G3000. And we can set up departures, arrivals, approaches. We want an approach here, and the approach we're going to select is RNAV 27, and the transition we want is Gusel. That looks good. Let's load it. And thankfully it drew it for us. I have had this to freeze up the PFD and the MFD and had to fly with my backup
Destination ATIS is 119.675.
Thank you. That was for flight letting us know what the ATIS was. We'll take a listen in on that, but at any rate, right now you can see that we are, let's see, I need to zoom us out just a smidge. There we are. There's Gusel. Burpee is the, this is the initial approach fix, intermediate approach fix, and final is Kesey, I think it's called. So with that set, we can start a slow descent down to 3,000 is about where we want to be at Gusel. So I'm going to get that dialed in. Bear with me here while I scroll this thing down to 3,000. Our altitude. Not started descending yet because we haven't told it how we want to do that. I'm going to pull our power back so we don't overspeed. Around 70%, it'll be good for starters, and we're going to use vertical speed to go down, and I think we'll try 800 feet a minute and see if that'll work for us. And you can see our banana that's coming in to tell us where we will reach the bottom of the descent, or the 3,000 foot, and it's right at Gusel. It's right where I want it to be. So I like all that, and I want that to, yeah, I'm good with that. Now, one thing we'll need to do, Gusel is the initial approach fix, so we just need to be sure to activate the approach before Gusel, because it's going to want to take us there. So if we wait and we're in here, it'll turn around and go back. I haven't seen if there's an activate vectors to final on this. Like I said, it's not fully functional, the Garmin G3000, but it'll get the job done if it doesn't freeze up. So taking a look at ForeFlight, do the same thing. So we've got ForeFlight in agreement, and let's see if I can go over here and get the ATIS plugged in. 119.75, I believe it was. Nope, I'm wrong. It's 675. There we go. Why don't I get over here where I can see it? 119.675. So we should hear that.
West Airport information Echo 22000. Climb 275 at 8. Visibility, niner. Sky condition, clear. Temperature, 15. Dew point, 13. Altimeter, 29.902. Visual runway, 27 in use. Landing and departing runway, 27. DSR, aircraft, say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller, on initial contact, you have EDIL. West Airport information Echo 22000 Zulu.
All right,
1275
let's
at 8.
quieten
Visibility
them up.
none.
I think it was Echo.
Clear. Temperature 15. Dew point 13.
I do know we were landing on 27. That's really all I needed to know for now. And get back over here to the ForeFlight and let's zoom it out, and you can see we've got our route in there along with the approach plate on the map. So we can see Gusell is where we're going to be at 3,000, and then we'll want to be at 1,500 by Burpee, and then we'll slow up and be ready to intercept the final approach fix Kesey at 1,500 feet, and a pretty steep descent into Key West there. So we'll get slowed up and ready to descend before then, and with any luck we'll see a nice sunset when we get there. That's my plan. So let's look and see how we're doing. Still looking pretty good for being at 3,000 right here. And since VNAV isn't modeled on this that I can tell, this is a pretty good backup way to make sure you're descending at a good rate. And you can always do the math, but and that'll get you in the ballpark. But your ground speed is going to vary in a descent. As you're coming down lower, it's going to slow up, and so there's a little bit of guesswork involved. So this takes some of that guesswork out of it, just in my opinion. We're 26 miles now from Gusell. Our altitude 7,800 feet. We're descending about 800 feet a minute, and everything looks good. Sync up our heading, and it's time for some fun facts about Key West. Not too many, but let's see. I may have already mentioned that Key West is the southernmost tip of the continental United States, and there is a very popular tourist attraction on Key West. It's a concrete replica of a buoy at the corner of South and Whitehead Streets that claims to be the southernmost point in the contiguous United States. The point was originally marked with a basic sign, and the city of Key West erected the current monument in 1983, I believe it was. So that's a claim to fame, and since we are going to the southernmost point in the United States, it stands to reason that we will want to go to the northernmost point in the United States. So when we leave Key West, we're going north, and the northernmost point in the U.S., to my knowledge, is, I think, Barrow, Alaska. I may be wrong about that, but it is something in Alaska, and that's the way we're heading. And we're going to do some sightseeing along the way. We're going to fly some different aircraft. We're going to fly some X-Plane. We're going to fly some MSFS, and I'm pretty stoked that we have such great simulators. Way better than what we started with, that allows us to do that and explore the world from the comfort of our homes during COVID. So there's that. We'll zoom us in just a little bit here on, let's see, I got to get us back on MFD. There we go, so I can see how we're doing there. Everything still looks good to me. And about 5,000 feet, we're going to want to slow up to 200 knots and extend the inert SEP. So might as well start easing the power back. We don't have to do it right at 5,000, but somewhere in the vicinity. And as I slow up, that means we're going to descend quicker before we, or we'll be at 3,000 before we get to Gusell. So I may as well decrease the vertical speed. That'll also help us slow up. So we'll go to 600 feet a minute and ease the power back slightly, just to get slowed up enough to get that inert SEP out. another fun fact. I didn't know this, but Pan American Airlines was founded in Key West, originally to fly visitors to Havana, Cuba in 1926. The airline contracted with the United States Postal Service in 1927 to deliver mail to and from Cuba and the United States. Fun fact. Also, in 1982, the city of Key West briefly asserted independence as the Conch Republic, C-O-N-C-H, Conch Republic, as a protest over a United States Border Patrol blockade. And the blockade was set up on US 1, where the northern end of the overseas highway meets the mainland at Florida City. And that was in response to a boat lift. I think it's called MaNiA boat lift. A traffic jam of 17 miles ensued while the Border Patrol stopped every car leaving the Keys, supposedly searching for illegal immigrants. This paralyzed the Florida Keys, which rely heavily on tourism. And so to this day, flags, t-shirts, and other merchandise representing the Conch Republic are still popular souvenirs for visitors in Key West, or to Key West, and the Conch Republic Independence celebration includes parades, parties, and it's celebrated annually on April 23rd. We're going to be flying over the Naval Air Station Key West. It's an important year-round training site for naval aviation, and mainly due to the tropical weather, which is also the reason Key West was chosen as the site of President Harry S. Truman's Winter White House. So, another fun fact. All right, let's get our head back in the game. I can see we've got some vertical path guidance in here, but it's not really useful, and because it's not modeled correctly. So, technically, this should be higher than we are, and we should come underneath it and intercept it, even though I know we're still at 4,000 feet. When we get down to 1,500 feet, this is still going to be down here. And then once we get closer, it comes into the center, but normally it's going to be up here, and we're going to intercept it from below. So that's not right, but it'll still get the job done. Again, it's a default aircraft, so no worries. Okay, we've got ourselves slowed down. Let's get our intercept out. We need to do that. And then we can speed ourselves back up. Doesn't hurt to be a little bit slow in this turn, which is 3 miles away. Checking that I did put my lights on, and I believe that was the master caution telling me the intercept zone, and we're in the turn. Okay. I just real quick realized I did not activate the approach, so I just did, hopefully. I just did. I hit the activate right about the time we went over Gazelle, so it looks like this is our active leg to Burpee, and that's what we want. We're at 3,000. The airplane did not try to turn back into a circle, and you can see that flying the approach, even though it's good VFR, is useful when the sun is staring us right in the face. It's hard to see much of anything. There's an airport out there somewhere. We'll see it eventually. So for now, we'll continue on as we are. And I think I can come in with just slightly more power. We don't need to be this slow this far out. Let's dial our altitude down to 1,500, which is where we're going to be, want to be. And how far is it to Burpee? It's 13 miles. Now I gotta pay attention and make sure this thing is gonna maintain this course to Burpee. If it doesn't, I can take over and fly it manually. It looks like it's turning that way. It's kind of slow. Yeah, we're okay there. So I have to assume then the approach is active since it seems to be flying it. And we're going to use about a 500 foot per minute descent. And we'll see if that'll get us down. We just need to be somewhere in this range down to 1500, and that looks like that's going to work just fine. In fact, we can probably go slightly slower than that and be okay. Anywhere along in there, and that'll get us down to 1500 by the time we get to Burpee. Beautiful scenery down here in the Keys. Default, it's all default. The weather's default. All the graphics are pretty much default. I do have a lot of the settings at ultra, not all of them. I am using a 3080, NVIDIA 3080 GPU. I highly recommend that if you can get your hands on one. I did fly it with the 2080 Super, and it struggled. I had to keep my settings lower. I had a lot more crash to desktops with the 2080. The 3080 has performed pretty much flawlessly. So it's a nice addition if you can get that. And we are 6 miles from Burpee. We'll look at the flight on the iPad. There's Burpee, and right here is where we'll intercept the glide path and head down. So one other thing I'll mention about Key West while we're on this final phase of the flight is on New Year's they have on Duval Street, where a lot of the bars are, there is an event that's pretty popular that I was able to personally attend a few years back with my family. And it is like New York has the ball drop, in Key West they have a shoe drop. And the shoe is this large red high heel, and they have a drag queen that gets in the shoe and rides it down from the second story of a saloon on Duval Street. And it's cranked down with boat winches. It's pretty low tech, but the drag queen wins a contest every year to get selected to be the one to ride down in that shoe. And the one that has consistently for the past few years been chosen to ride down, her name or his name, whatever, is Sushi. And my wife and I were fortunate enough to be there to see this personally. CNN covers it, and it's sort of based on, we're in the turn here, okay, and I'm going to ease our power on back now and start getting us slowed up. Loosely based on Mardi Gras in New Orleans. They throw beads out into the crowd. It's shoulder to shoulder, standing room only, and gets pretty wild. And the beads, though, eventually become a nuisance because they start hitting you in the face and about the head and shoulders, and they hurt. And anyway, it was a good time. We were there. It was on CNN, and lots of fun. I'm glad I did it. Don't want to do it again, but it was pretty much fun. All right, from here on, we're going to go sterile cockpit and get this thing on the ground. So you can see we are right now 4 miles from final approach fix, and I'm going to get us slowed on up. We'll drop the gear, bring some flaps out shortly, and you can see the glide path indicator is now centered up, and it should be up here, but it is centered up. But I believe it will work. I'm going to put us in approach mode, and you can see that it's indicating that it wants to select the glide path and use that for our descent. So we'll see if it works. We're at about 160 and about 2 miles from the intercept. So I believe I will. We do have our intercept out. We do have our lights on where we want them, and we'll go ahead and drop our gear now. Gear coming down. I'm set at about 30%. Pull that back just a little bit more. So we're slowing up nicely. Okay, now I see this has moved up and it's starting to come down. So we should start descending momentarily, and we'll drop some approach flaps, and there goes the nose. And now we want to ease that power back and get it down into the white arc. See if I can see an airport. I do see an airport at 12 o'clock. Nice. So I'm only about 15% torque right now, and we're still doing about 125 knots. And the idea on the VREF, the approach speed, is not to fly it all the way from the outer marker to the threshold. It's to be at that speed when you cross the threshold. So I'm fine being a little fast out here. We're a little less than 3 miles from the runway, and when we get a little closer, we'll slow up more. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And once we get about 500 feet above the ground, which is coming up, we'll go ahead and put in full flaps, and then get our speed down closer to the approach speed. I'm going to add some power back in as we're dropping down below where I want to be. And I think it's a good time to kill the yaw damper, autopilot, and flight director. Get all that out of here. Just fly her on in by hand. Autopilot did a good job. Definitely. Okay, I like my speed. I like the glide path we're on. Make minor corrections.
Delta 1387 cross and go to maintain 8000. Maintain 8000.
Got the runway made. We're going to start pulling some power back, easing our nose up. And let's get some reverse on here. Little wobbly coming in, and that's just, I want to say that's not pilot error. I think that's twitchy controls. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Key West, Florida, southernmost point in the United States, also referred to as the Conch Republic. Thank you for flying with FS MaNiA. Please remain seated until the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign. Flaps coming up. Let's get our heaters off. A bit of the caution. Let's get over here on the center line. So, I say not too shabby for a default airplane. Can it be better? Yes, it can be better. And for it to be better, we probably will need to pay for it. Let's get our lights. Strobes, taxi light on, pulse light off. Okay, so yep, that was okay. Find a place to park and we'll call it a day. Hopefully we can see some sunset. That's what we came here for. There's a dock called Mallory Dock where people in Key West love to congregate at sunset, celebrate it every day. There's an event down there. It's a happening place, I will say. And way back in the day, I had a brother who was in the Coast Guard who was stationed in Key West on the Diligence, and which is I think a cutter, if I'm not mistaken. At any rate, it was docked at Mallory Dock, and so I came and spent a week with him one time and hung out and had a lot of fun. So, looking just to see, I think we're going to pull in right at this next. Yeah, there's a couple of planes in the way. Let's see which way he's. Yep, okay. I think we're going to have to go around this TBM right here. We should pull this off, okay. Make a left here.
365 Golf Charlie, descend to maintain followable 310.
Keep it coming left. Planes everywhere. Parked all helter-skelter. Willy-nilly. I don't know if I'm going to pass this guy or not without hitting him. That would be embarrassing. Should be all right, looks like. Any luck? Yep. We're fine. We're fine there. All right. Now if we can get in here and where this guy is.
At 640 pop across Scott, and maintain 10,000 and 50 knots. The MaNiA altimeter is 2981.
Yeah, I see. Okay, he liked that. All right, good deal. Let's set the brake. Appreciate that, men. And did I cut those off? Yeah, I cut them off. And we'll cut this off, get rid of that, let's go overhead and shut things off over here. Taxi light, we don't need that anymore. We don't need the panel lights anymore. And we definitely don't need the oxygen or the autopilot. Boost pump's supposed to stay in auto until after shutdown, but heck with it, we'll cut it off right now. And I know that's not procedurally correct, but sue me. Okay, power back. Comes over to high idle, and it's supposed to be there, I think, about 15 seconds or more or less, but it tends to heat up if you leave it there too long, so we'll get it all the way back down here to cut off. Kill this. Kill this.
American 369, monitor, roger.
And all's well with the world. Thank you again for flying with me on this day. I'm going to jump outside. Let's shut this down. And, oh, will somebody answer that phone? I'm going to jump down or jump outside, and we'll take a look at the sunset. Let's do the crash bar. Got everything off, I believe. Crash bar's off. Okay, I'll meet you outside. Okay, you did a good job there, 757 X-Ray Mike. Well done. Thank you very much. We are going to take a quick look around and see if we can see any of the sunset before we sign off. The sunsets in Key West do not disappoint. We're actually just a little bit early for it, but not to worry. We'll speed it up and give you a chance to see it. So thanks again for joining me. I'll see you on the next video. Until then, from FS MaNiA, so long. Next time on FS MaNiA, we're going to step it up a notch and try out the default Cessna Citation Longitude. The Longitude has a cruise speed of 483 knots, a service ceiling of 45,000 feet, a 7-hour endurance, and a 3,500 nautical mile range. I'm looking forward to seeing what this baby can do and exploring more of the MSFS world. Stay tuned. See ya.
Delta 1387, contact MaNiA approach 133.77.
Delta 1387, have a good day.
You as well.